It's Angela here, and welcome to the YBMB show, the first live of this series that we're going to do. I thought we'd start to do lives to talk in a little bit more depth about various subjects that people ask me about in connection with YBMB. If you're following this, you probably know that I talk a lot about the connection between body, mind, and business, and that's as a result of my own experience, really, where I discovered that the stronger I got physically, it had this not only an impact on my body, which is what I sort of initially set off to achieve, but it had this unexpected impact on my mindset, and also then consequently on my business as well. And hence we created this this program called Your Body Means Business, and here we are now on the lives. So I have a guest here who happens to be my son, Stephen Middleton. Hello, Steve. Can you hear me? Hello, 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 hello. So I'm going to ask you to unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm unmuted now.
Hello, welcome. And so we are going to use this little live session to talk about something that you and I have discussed lots and lots and lots, and that is MyFitnessPal. And before we go into a bit of a discussion over it, the first thing that will be a bone of contention between me and Stephen. And this is because those of you who've got grown-up kids, your kids always tell you, you know, what they think you ought to be doing, and they always think that they know better than you. And so Stephen always, his claim to fame is that he told me about MyFitnessPal. But the truth of the matter is, Stephen, you're really going to hate this, is that I just went on my history of MyFitnessPal. My first ever entry was in May 2010, which was quite some time before you and I started talking about fitness in 2016. Surprise you, isn't it? But I think the preamble really. Sorry.
I distinctly remember and being like, oh, I'm using this app, MyFitnessPal.
No, but before we go into it, I think that's a really, really important point. The point is that you know, nothing is a silver bullet. A lot of people say to me, you know, oh, well, you use MyFitnessPal, you measure your food, don't you? And that's the reason that you've managed to sort of get this fit. And I think the fact that I was using it originally on and off through May 2010 and still not getting any result demonstrates that just having one tool on its own is not going to be a silver bullet, and it's not going to achieve for you what you need it to. But having said that, when you've got other support around you, and you've got a whole series of things like, you know, accountability, a community around you, and you start to see some results and a belief that it's going to work for you. That's the same with any tool, really. It starts to work. So that's point number one, is that this is one of many, many things that make the difference in fitness. But a little bit about MyFitnessPal and how I got to, now we'll give Stephen the credit, because how I genuinely got to start using it properly. Was that I was living with Stephen for a bit when he came over from San Francisco. He came back from San Francisco, and I noticed that he started to measure his food a lot in the kitchen. He was always in the kitchen with what seemed to me like scales and Tupperware and stuff like that. And you know, and not only that, but his body was changing shape almost on a daily basis, it seemed like to me. And that's when he properly introduced me to this thing called MyFitnessPal. So before we sort of talk about how we use that, Stephen, tell us a little bit about how you got using it and why it was such a useful tool for you.
Yeah, sure. It's yeah, so like you say, I first started using it around that time. I think it was around 2016, and I on my own sort of fitness journey, I suppose, started working out at a gym called Ultimate Performance, which I know you then obviously did as well. And they were the ones who introduced me to it, just as a tool to measure your food. In the beginning, just your calorie intake, and to, you know, actually see how many calories you're eating, because, you know, I wasn't even checking that before. And then obviously look more deeply into macronutrients and micronutrients and things like that. But it was about it. But I think it's in the fitness world, it's obviously a very well-known tool now, and it was back then as well. So yeah, you know, lots of people use it. It's a very, you know, popular, simple tool. But those are the guys who introduced it to me in the beginning. Yeah, and then after that, really, it's just a case of starting to use features, and there's so much cool stuff that most people probably don't know about, which we could talk about
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, basically, that the one of the things that is so sort of simple about achieving a body transformation is it is about calories in and calories out. And prior to sort of joining UP and starting on that journey as you did, I'd heard about things like Weight Watchers and saw that they were calorie counting, and I always sort of, you know, poo-pooed it a little bit. I just thought they bought sort of special processed packaging with only 100 calories in, and it wasn't a very healthy way of eating. But what I realized through using my fitness pal is that you can combine the two. You can start to monitor your intake, but you can also do that in a way that suits you, so that you can eat foods of your choice, healthy foods of your choice. There's no need to go and buy special packages or processed foods. You can slip in there as well some maybe not quite so healthy foods of your choice, like the odd glass of champagne if you want, or, you know, like a cake here and there or something like that. And you can still do that and still achieve phenomenal results with your body. And the important thing is, it's like anything, what gets measured gets done. And so what it does is it really instills a healthy discipline initially, and an awareness even more importantly as to what you're eating. Because I mean, I always know when I introduce other people to it now, and certainly for myself, I used to be so shocked to see the calorie content and the macro content of certain foods. You know, even something that I thought was really healthy, like an avocado. So I used to always have like eggs and avocado every morning, and I suddenly realized the amount of fat, healthy fats, yes, but the amount of calories through fats in avocado, which seems to be gone. You know, you can eat it in 2 or 3 mouthfuls. You consumed in excess of 100 calories. So that's the first thing I think is so great. You know, obviously it's an easy tool to use, and even if you use the basic version, the first step with it is not necessarily to change anything, but to start to record everything you're consuming, to get an awareness and a baseline of what it is that's made you the current size and shape that you are. What was your thoughts on that? Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, I was on mute again. Yeah, I think that's the key thing is what you said, awareness, is that a lot of people think they're eating healthily, and they probably are. But, you know, if you're eating, even if you're eating healthily, if you're eating too much of certain types of foods, whether it's too much fat, too much carbs, too much protein, then that's going to get in the way of, you know, changing your body or losing weight or whatever. And that's probably a big thing that confuses a lot of people. If they think, oh, I'm eating healthily, but I'm not losing weight. And, you know, something like MyFitnessPal is the key really to overcoming that hurdle. And after you get that awareness, then you can really start digging into, you know, a lot more detail and, you know, customizing what you actually eat on a day-to-day basis, so that, yeah, you know, you're not just having to eat really rigid foods all the time. You know, you can fit in treats and things like that, you know, where it actually works properly. So,
and I think what's interesting as well is that everyone sort of, you know, or not everyone, but a lot of people say to me, oh God, you know, I couldn't be doing that. You know, I like my food too much. I couldn't be restricting my food. To start off with, I always say to people, okay, start recording on MyFitnessPal. Don't even change anything. And I think the discipline comes not necessarily originally from sort of stopping yourself eating something, but more about being really honest with yourself about what you are actually eating. Someone said to me a while back, he said, it was, what did he say? Licks, tastes and bites are the downfall of most people on a you know, on any sort of transformation journey, because they don't record that bite of this, that taste of that. And before you know it, if you're just trying to get into sort of a small deficit, which if you're not that big and you don't really want to lose that much weight, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's so hard to lose that little bit. But if you're trying to lose just like 1 or 2 kgs, it's almost harder than losing, you know, a significant amount, because you only need to be in a deficit of like, let's say 200 calories or something like that. But you can quickly, by not recording absolutely everything and not recording, for example, you know, a sauce that you happen to have on the chicken that you ate. So you might have healthy chicken and broccoli, but you had some butter on it, or, you know, you've had just a dash of milk in your coffee or something like that. And it all adds up, and it's so surprising. Or 1 chocolate, so surprising how you can quickly then consume 200 calories, not even know it. It's not doing you any harm, but what, you know, and I think that's a difference as well between we're not saying this to sort of restrict anybody, but if you have a very clear goal and you want to go for it, I mean, if you don't want to go for it, don't go for it. But if you want to go for it, measuring it really accurately is the discipline that's needed. Not so much don't eat things, but measuring properly. And so really recognizing where your calories are coming from. For me, I faffed about on that for a good 3 months and I wasn't getting results. But the truth of the matter was I wasn't getting results, not because I couldn't originally, it's because of that reason. I was thinking, roughly this and roughly that. And I wasn't properly measuring. And when I did start doing it properly, that's when I started to really get the results.
Yeah, well, I think there's two types of people who use MyFitnessPal, right? You've got, fitness professionals and people who are really trying to push themselves, and therefore they are measuring everything to the gram. You obviously need to, sometimes when I was like that, I used to do silly things like literally cut the end of a piece of salmon off because it didn't fit into the exact weight that I needed to, and doing stuff like that. And then, measuring, like you say, how many grams of this oil have you put on it? What's the dressing? What's the content of that on a salad? So there are things like that. But that, for most people, I feel like that might be a bit overwhelming to start with MyFitnessPal. And one of the best features that I like now, when I'm not as rigid about, by the gram what I'm eating, is really the scanning feature of it. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so good, even for people, because people might be listening to this and thinking, oh my God, that sounds like so much effort. I've got to measure all my food and then I've got to put it in every single day. But a good way to get started on it is literally to use the scanning feature and just scan the packet of like whatever it is you are eating.
You don't scan the piece of chicken on your plate or anything, by the way. Just so people know, because I've heard people actually do that. So you don't do that. It's not quite that advanced yet.
No. So to be specific, on every, if you buy a pre-packaged, food of any kind, it'll have a barcode on the back of it.
Yeah.
And MyFitnessPal has a feature where you can scan that barcode, and in general, it has pretty much every single food saved down with their macronutrient values, and it will then populate in your food diary how much you've actually eaten. And that is like a really good way, if you are just trying to start losing weight or start your fitness journey, and you want to sort of take baby steps towards measuring every single gram, then working out exactly, what you're eating just by scanning things is probably, the easiest way to get started on it. Then you can, go on, sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well that the other thing, then you sort of start, so you create an awareness, you get a baseline of what you're actually eating, you decide to adjust it, and then how do you decide to adjust it? A lot of questions come up about, well, how many calories have I got to have, to lose this much weight? How many, can I have, and what can I have, and all of that. So there's a few things to say around that. If you get the premium feature, and it's really not very expensive, I think it's about 25, maybe 30 quid a year or something. And by the way, I have no affiliation with MyFitnessPal. I'm not sort of selling it, but
it's $7.99 a month it is.
Oh, is it? I think it's less than that if you pay it for a year. But the premium features are really worth having, because then what you can do is you can put in it, if you're trying to now decide, now you've got used to it, you're trying to decide now, how much to consume, how many macro contents to use each day. You can put your goals in, and it will ask you to put anything from your fitness goals through to weight loss goals. Even if you are that sophisticated that you know how many calories already, you've worked it out somehow other way, and you know how much protein you want, for example, it will allow you to put those in as well. And then what it does is, as you're recording it each day, it pops up and tells you what you've got left. It also says to you, if you consume this much every day, at the end of the day, you will achieve so it'll allow you to put a target weight in, and it says things like you will achieve your target weight by a certain day. So it starts to become really helpful. But there's a couple of things I wanted to say on top of that. The first thing is when you put your food in, it allows you to make up dishes. So say, for example, you have a roast dinner, you can start to make up your meals. And unfortunately, it allows everybody, the whole world and his wife who are using this, to do that. And if you're not careful at the beginning, you might click, oh, there's a chicken roast dinner, I had that. And you tick it. And basically you're at the mercy of whether they put it up properly or not, and what the macros are that they included. So I always make sure when I'm recording my food on there, And I don't so much now, and I'll come on to that as well later. But I always make sure now that I only use the foods that have got the green tick, because they're the ones that have been verified as being correct, and they've got the correct macronutrients in, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point that I was going to mention is like there's a few different strategies that you can use with MyFitnessPal to make sure that you don't that you're actually getting the most out of it. So that's the first one, right? It's like when you first getting started, people make that mistake. They just type in, "Oh, I had a burger," and it's completely wrong. What they should really be doing, and what I do, is you have to break down the ingredients. That's the key thing. Is like if you go out to a restaurant and you try and eat and you order a burger, you need to basically, like, instead of looking up burger, look up burger bun meals.
Yes, that's really useful as well.
You
Yeah,
start saving meals, and then like a really good strategy is to before you go to bed, plan what you're going to eat the next day.
definitely. It really helps.
Because a big issue that people have when they sort of get really used to using MyFitnessPal is like they just do it throughout the day, and then they maybe eat something and they forget to put it in.
Yeah.
Then you start measuring stuff, but it's not really a true reflection. So if you're really trying to use it to lose weight properly, then yeah, working out what your normal meals are and then deciding what you're going to eat tomorrow, the day before, and pre-populating MyFitnessPal for the forthcoming day. So you know exactly what you're going to eat, and then sticking to that is a really good strategy.
That works so well. And for me, that was one of the keys to me losing 10 kgs and changing my body, because it wasn't for me just the loss of weight. It was about the change in body composition as well. You know, losing like significant proportion of body fat and moving across to a much more muscular physique was all down to not just reducing calories, but also massively increasing my protein and getting my carbs from really healthy carb sources. And one of the things that I would do was I would think about, you know, where am I going to be tomorrow? Oh, right, you know, I'm going to be in the office all day. I might be traveling. You know, am I going to be near a prep, for example? Because I know that I could have a particular type of salad there. I knew what was in that. Or shall I take, you know, a Tupperware with some food that I cooked last night? Shall I take that with me for lunch? I might take, you know, I'll get some slices of chicken out of Marks and Spencer's or whatever it was. And I used to plug those all in, knowing where I would be the next day. So that, you know, exactly like you say, you then sort of feel reassured. You don't even think about your food that much, really, because you know what you're going to eat all day, and you still got plenty of space at the end of the day. So, for example, you're planning to go out for dinner, and you could really sort of eke out the calories just for a bit of the day, and then the end of the day, you could have plenty left. But on that point, I wanted to also say about the weekly view, because you know, with that in mind, what I was saying about sometimes, you know, I'd know I'd be going out for dinner at the end of the day. I'd be thinking, okay, let me be a bit low on calories for 2 or 3 days leading up to it. And that's another really good thing, because it gives you a week view as well. And so it will show you, you can start to monitor your weekly view, and it will show you you're under your calorie. If you start to, you know, sort of take it a bit easy and go a bit low, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you're going out Thursday, then you know how much extra you've got left on Thursday, and you could go out for a nice dinner on Thursday, not be too concerned, although still record it the next day, and still be within your calories and still hit your body goals for that week. And like I say, with all of this, I'm not advocating that anybody needs to go for any body goals, really, but if you want to, then it's something you have to take seriously. Same as if you want to save money or build anything. You've got to know what's going in, you know, and monitor whether that is enabling you to achieve your goals or not.
Yeah, it's like looking at your bank account every day. You know, you're looking at your food account every day, basically. And yeah, if you want to move forward, then you have to do that. Yeah, and that, I think that's the key point what you said, is when you're looking at it on a weekly view. I think the biggest trend that, you know, PTs that I've spoken to have always pointed out to me, especially in the beginning, is like, all right, you know, you're going through the week, you're sticking to all of your goals, and that's great. And then Friday night comes around, maybe more, but you go to the pub and then you don't log like 3 Guinnesses that you've drunk or something. And then your weekend spikes up and all of that work from the week is undone.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like if you are, that's why if you're really accurate during the week and you're measuring the ingredients, not just the meals, and you're pre-planning stuff and all of that, then yeah, you can, like, if you save 200 calories a day for 5 hours, that's 1,000 calories. And then you can afford to go and have a, you know, treat if you decide that that's what you want to do. So that's all really good. And then another thing that I really like about MyFitnessPal is that you can share access to your diary with people. And especially if you're, if you've got like a personal trainer or a coach or whatever, then you can like give them access to it, and they can then see what you are actually eating, and then I think they can make meals for you as well.
It really helps with accountability, that though. If you know that someone else is going to be looking at what you're putting in, it makes you think twice about what to do. It depends what sort of person you are as well. I mean, if you're a very sort of methodical and logical person, like we both happen to be like that, then you really, I used to hate it if I would miss something out, and no matter how naughty maybe it had been, if I thought I shouldn't have eaten it and I did, I would always still put it in, because otherwise you're sort of only cheating yourself. And the body is not it's not magic or anything like that. It's very, very logical. If you put a certain volume and type of nutrients in, you're going to get a certain result. I mean, it's just like science, really. So if you use more energy than you put in, you're going to lose weight. And so whenever someone says, oh, I haven't lost weight and it's my age, it's my hormones, it's my this, it's my that, it's like, no, it's not. It's because you're not in a calorie deficit and you're not maybe had the right composition of nutrients, and that's the reason you're not getting results. And what you said about people sort of going under in the week and being so good, and then they get to Friday and then they go over, but they go more over than they went under, and then they wonder why they sat still for another week. And that's when people abandon the whole thing, and then they start to believe they'll never achieve the body of their dreams. And yet we know that they absolutely can, if they sort of just study this for a bit and realize that it's one tool in a whole arsenal of tools. There's a few things that extra to mention as well about having drinks and alcohol. One of the things that I was really shocked about was the calorie content of glasses of wine. And what I realized, and I started to look at glass of wine as almost like the equivalent of a donut, because what I realized was that there was the same number of calories, roughly speaking, in a particular size of white wine as there was in a donut. And so I used to look and think, would I really eat 3 donuts in one sitting? No, I wouldn't. So why have, unfortunately it was quite easy still over a period of a night to drink 3 glasses of wine. And so now if I even have one, it's very much, do I really want to drink those calories? It's so quick to drink. It's, it's equivalent to a donut. So, I think it makes you really think more seriously about the sort of stuff that you're consuming, firstly from a calorie, and then later on from a health perspective, a macronutrient. Who really wants to put that many calories in their body and it's just not doing anything? It's empty calories, all right, now and again. But again, it comes down to awareness. It's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So MyFitnessPal is great for tracking all of that stuff. And yeah, it depends where you are, in your fitness, like learning curve, I suppose, but it will help you at any stage. If you've never heard of it before and you're just at the beginning, then definitely get it and just start doing the basic stuff, I would say, that we've talked about. And I would be surprised if you don't know about it, if you go to a gym or if you thought about measuring your food at all. But yeah, if you are already using it, but you're making some of those like basic mistakes that a lot of people do, then hopefully some of those tips that we talked about around sharing your diary with people or making meals or pre-populating it for the future, the coming day will be helpful.
And there's just one other thing to add as well, which is, because we're coming to the end of the time now, but there's one other thing to add, which is it's great at showing your progress. So when I just went back prior to this call to look at this call and sort of see, what the graph looked like. So it's got some great graphical illustrations for you. And then that's when I saw, wow, it went right the way back to May 2005, which I couldn't believe. 2010, which I was really surprised about. So I could see how my weight went up from 2010 to its peak at 2016, which was all associated with sort of, work and hours and, a lifestyle like that. But then how it sort of came down. But what I didn't do until more recently was take snapshots, and you can link your photos, your body photos, into MyFitnessPal as well. And then what you can do is you can start to look at a comparison of how you look. So one of my recommendations is always once a week to actually not only be reviewing your stats in MyFitnessPal, looking at your week, but also taking a back, front and side photo of yourself in the same outfit, whether it's underwear or a gym kit, that shows your body. It's only for you to see, and then clicking it into MyFitnessPal as well. And then that way you can then, it's very easy for you to, using that app, to show comparisons of how you looked 3 months ago, 2 weeks ago, and you can start to see your progress. And it's really, really encouraging as well to do that. Like I say, it doesn't matter where you start, but no, it's a fabulous little app. I think
like you say, it is a great little app, but I think you have like fully in-depth tutorials in the YBNB program, and like, so if anyone's wondering, basically the YBNB program, you have like literally walkthrough tutorials of how to use it, how to download it, etc., etc. And you're doing, so you've got a Sunday, like these lives are supposed to only be half an hour, like just due to the topics, but Sunday you're doing like a full in-depth webinar to talk about it more, right? So do you want to mention that?
I've been talking about doing these webinars since the lockdown. I suppose more and more people have turned their attention to their own physical health, and it's bizarre, isn't it, that when people could go to the gym the whole time, they often didn't, and then all of a sudden when they couldn't, they sort of wanted to a lot more, and then started to sort of think, well, how can I work out from home? And I started to get a lot of questions about home workouts and what do I eat and all of that. And so we started running home workouts initially, live workouts from home, and then we took on a full summer season at Your Body Means Business, which was so great for all the people that joined, because and we became a lot more interactive. That program we were running for a couple of years, but we developed it so much during the summer season, and to the point where it was loads of live workouts and Zoom calls with me on subjects of this nature, and not just body, mind, but business as well. And so what we've done a few times is we've run webinars to tell people a bit more about the program, a bit more in depth, how they can get involved, etc. And so we're doing one of those on Sunday, isn't it, at 4 o'clock, I think. So if people want to sign up for that, then I think there'll be a link. There will be a link with this if there's not already.
Yeah, so
they can sign up for it.
I will put the link in the chat now, but for anybody who is live on YouTube or on Facebook, we will put the link into the comments as the first comment. We'll pin it there. You should see that in a minute. But yeah, like if you want to learn more, MyFitnessPal is just one tool when it comes to fitness, and it's not the be all and end all by any means. Like there is so much more that you need to really make a difference. And if you're interested in learning more about that, then come on these Sunday webinars, because we go into a lot more detail about the holistic process, as I know you like to call it. And we're going to be doing those every week, I think.
We are. So should we finish this live then, the way that I always start my webinars?
Absolutely. Why not?
Come on then. Quick, jumping on the spot. Up you get.
You want me to jump up and down? Wait, I need to get the link.
What I love is that I can always embarrass my children no matter how old they are.
I need to get the registration link to the webinar on Sunday.
All right. Thank you anyway, everybody who's listening. And I hope that was useful. If you haven't got the MyFitnessPal app, download it. I don't have any affiliation with it, like I said. However, it's one of the things that we talk about a lot in the program to get you started. And I will tell you a lot more about it in the Sunday webinar. And thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me on this little live session. And thank you also for reintroducing me to MyFitnessPal those years ago and setting me on my body transformation. And really, I've got you to thank for the inspiration for that.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you to everyone who's on Facebook Live watching, because there are about 10 people, I think, who've been watching this episode. This is the first episode of the YBNB show. Oh yeah, that's one other thing to tell you guys, is that these, these sort of like informational live videos, half an hour, we're going to do them every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So, I'm not always going to be on them, obviously. There'll be other guests, but
I will, and I'll get a lot better at this tech as well, and make sure that you can see us properly and that the live stream doesn't drop down and things of that nature. But thanks a lot. See you later.
All right, speak to you later.